What's up, guys? Today we are going to be taking a look at a Tuxing PCP compressor. This is the model TXES062. Does not roll off the tongue quite as easily as some of the other model numbers, but I don't care quite so much about the name as I do the performance. So let's take a crack here. Out of the box. Added in good foam. Got our spare parts here. Out. More compact than I thought, actually. I think that's all of our packaging. Seems packed well enough. I like the color. Deeper red than like the GX pumps. So let's look around here, see what we got. So on the back you have your setting for which region you're in for your electrical. You've got your lead valve here, Foster fitting, burst disc, easily accessible fuse, which is nice. And then you have either your 12 volt or your DC there, your on off button, and a display there, which I'm assuming is probably going to be the temperature. Yep, on the listing here for it, it does say it's the thermometer. So let's look at the parts that come with it. Alright, you've got your hose, which I'm glad has the larger filter, a little more heavy duty housing. Open it. There we go. Yep, we've got our little filter inside of there. And it does come with spare filters. Looks like spare burst discs, 2 spare fuses, extra O-rings. So all the good stuff. I'm so happy that that kind of stuff is becoming a standard with most compressors nowadays. Used to be you have to buy most of those extra parts on your own. And then you have your 12 volt battery cables and your regular DC power, which is what we're going to be using. So, looking at it, I like the way it's built. It's nice heavy duty construction. We'll pop the cover off of it here at the end of the video. We'll take a look under the hood. But first I'm just going to get it turned on. Once it's turned on, it's probably going to be pretty loud. So I'll just fill up the hose. And then we'll walk through how that would work. So set your automatic cutoff here. Bar. Open your bleed valve, attach your hose, then you would attach this to whatever it is that you're filling. Make sure that bleed valve is open, push your start button. Once it's running, close your bleed valve. Okay, that's easy enough. I do like that it beeps when it hits your mount, when it hits the pressure level, so that's really nice. Other than that, it's pretty standard stuff. I do really like the construction. It's got a good solid handle on it. Comes with all the spare parts. Let me go grab a screwdriver and we will tear this puppy down. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and tear this down. If you really just want to see the basics of how this compressor works, then feel free to stop the video. If you haven't purchased one yet, then I would appreciate it if you use my link in the description that helps support the channel. But from here on out, for the rest of the video, I'm gonna tear this down, look at the major components, how you might service them, where you're gonna replace O-rings, stuff to look at if you do run into issues with it. Most of the time, these are easy to fix, as long as it's not a major component. But if you don't need any of that information, feel free to go ahead and click off the video. But if you're still here, I'm assuming you want to learn a little bit more about it. This does actually have a crush washer and a regular washer on every screw, which I have not seen before on these kind of compressors. Normally it's just a screw. Might be overkill, but you know, better be safe than sorry. Pop these off. But thus far, I have been impressed with the construction of them, of the pump. I like that things like your burst disc and your fuse are easily accessible. I like that they sent all the extra stuff. Which is nice. It actually looks like it was made earlier this year. At least that's when the quality control patch is from. Looks like it's from about 6 months ago. It does also have a little coil on the side for you to wrap up your cables in, but I might actually have to remove that to pull the cover off, it looks like. We'll see. Yep, that's unfortunate. Oh, never mind. I was just messing with it. Okay. So when you pull this off, you will need to take the bleed valve out all the way. So just be aware of that. There we go. Okay, and there's no ball bearing in there. Sometimes they have a ball bearing in there. If you lose that, you won't be able to hold pressure. Go ahead and take that off. And let's look at what we got here. So it looks like you do have a small air intake filter right here. Looks like it's the same material as those other ones, which is nice. You can just use those to swap it out if it gets dirty. You have your pressure regulator here. You have your built-in inverter, which is really nice. This one does have a relatively small engine and pump on it. And then you've got your fan that's just blowing air through the entire system. And it does look like it has a heat sink here built into that. All your connections are happening right down here on your control board. It looks like most of the connections are glued in place, which I'm a fan of. That helps to prevent them from shaking loose just during shipping or use, or these things do vibrate while they're running, so that's nice. And you have your thermostat right here, so you can keep an eye on this. So a couple important things to keep in mind when it comes to the longevity of your compressor. Biggest one is temperature. You don't want this to overheat. So for example, in the specs for this one, let's see, I believe it does have a runtime listed. Yeah. So after 25 minutes of work, it will need to cool down for 10 to 15 minutes. So what that means is you can fill a larger tank or gun or whatever off of this, but you're going to need to let it cool. So run it for your 25 minutes, then disconnect whatever it is that you're filling. Obviously empty the bleed valve first, disconnect whatever it is that you're filling, and then leave the fan running. So keep it plugged in, let that fan run, let the temperatures come back down, and then you can run it again. Don't overheat your pump, that's going to kill it. You know, it might not do it immediately. I mean, it will if it gets hot enough, but that's really going to reduce how well your pump runs over the long term. In addition, I don't see any specific spot to add grease to this. So if you use this long term, you will probably need to disassemble the piston here and add some grease to the system. But that's something you probably won't have to do for quite a while. Let's see what else, if it says anything about the grease. I don't think it does on this one. Yeah, it says it's oil free, which means it's all built in. So eventually, if you're seeing much slower fill times, you might need to add some more grease to this. But I wouldn't expect that for, you know, probably a couple hundred hours, I would hope. Now, there's your basic components. I mean, that's the nice thing about these pumps is they're pretty modular, so if one thing goes bad, you can typically get it replaced without too many issues. But let's put this puppy back together. So again, when you're putting this back on, watch out for your bleed valve over here. You do not want to whack that piece right there, and you want to make sure that it all fits on nicely. Fit correctly right there. So we're going to go ahead and put these back on. So at this point, this is the main content of the video. So thank you for watching to this part. I'm just going to reassemble it and talk about whatever comes to mind about these pumps while I do that. But initial thoughts of this one, this seems like a nicely built little unit. I will be doing another video on it here in a couple months with some more use on it, is what I usually do. But I like this pump. It's definitely much more affordable than the majority of pumps. I think on Amazon right now, yeah, it's 230 bucks on Amazon, which for an auto stop pump, that's pretty competitive. That is comparable with like the TXES062, for example, which is also an auto stop pump and also comes in right around the same price. And in fact, they have a bundle for $258 where you get a small air tank with this as well. It is a very small air tank. It's a 0.38 liter, so you know you aren't going to be getting a ton of refills off of that. But I mean, for an extra 20 bucks and you get a little mini tank, that really is not a bad deal. So I think this is a very viable contender for an entry level. If you are looking at getting your first PCP compressor, it can be tempting to go with one of the super cheap ones that does not have auto stop. I would not recommend that. I think that auto stop is an essential feature to these. Even if you have a burst disc on here. So just for anybody new, what auto stop does is you set the pressure that you want to fill to, and it will automatically stop when it gets to that pressure. So it's basically a safety feature. Now, basically all of these pumps do also have a burst disc. That's what this piece right here, if I'm looking at the right one, yep, that's what this is right here. This holds in piece just a tiny little disc that is set to a specific pressure, and it will burst if it hits that pressure, basically venting the system. I have popped a burst disc before. It is terrifying. It's very loud. But auto stop would have prevented me from doing that the one time that it did happen. So I'm a big fan of auto stop on compressors. I mean, if you think about it, like, think of the kind of reaction you get even when like a car tire pops. I mean, that's a lot of air under a lot of pressure coming out. And that's what, like typically 40 to 50 PSI, sometimes even less. These things, this one is rated for 4,500 PSI. So 100 times the pressure of a car tire, some car tires. So not really something you want to be popping off. So big fan of auto stop. Now, I believe we've got all that together. Don't forget to put your bleed valve back in place there. I always like to leave them a little bit loose just because that's what I'm going to do when I'm filling up. So there you go. This again is the Tuxing. I have to look at the model number because it's hard to remember. The Tuxing TXES062. This is one of their more entry-level ones. They do have a couple that are cheaper than this, but I think this is the cheapest model that has the auto stop. So this is the cheapest Tuxing that I personally would consider. And I think it's a good unit. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Hit me up in the comments. I'm normally very responsive to those. And let me know what you want to see. I'll probably do a video comparing this to the TXES062. I think they're pretty comparable. So like and subscribe if this is helpful to you. And if you're going to buy one of these, please use my link down in the description. It helps support the channel at no cost to you.